Welcome to Crunch My Numbers. I'm your host, Paul Redmond. This is your go-to podcast for business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders looking to maximize their potential. I'm really looking forward to this podcast because as 2024 comes to a close, today we're going to be talking about preparing yourself and your business for 2025. A new year brings loads of fresh opportunities, but only if you're ready for them. So in this episode, we're going to cover the common challenges business owners and people actually face at the start of a new year, the fresh strategic approach to 2025 to give you absolute clarity and purpose. And we're going to look at some practical, actionable steps to set up this new year as your best year ever. I know that's very cliche, and I know everybody talks about this. Everyone, let's just take a breath and see, right, if we can do this, how do we go about it? How do we set ourselves up for success? And how this is not about setting goals at the start of the new year on the 1st of January. It's about building long-lasting framework to help you face into the new year with a bit of figure and a bit of excitement. So the first thing we need to look at, what is the usual issues that come up when we're addressing year end? And for me, it's the year end fog. So imagine driving on a foggy highway. You're wanting to move forward, but your visibility is limited. And it's really hard to stay on course when you're driving through fog. So at the end of the year, people are naturally tired. People are naturally looking back on the calendar year because we're always set up to look at the year as a kind of a top to bottom, if you want to look at it from that way, from January to December. And we're looking back on the things that we've achieved within the year, and we're looking back on the things that worked well and the things that didn't work well. So as the year-end approaches, many businesses, they can kind of get stuck in this and just waiting out the rest of December until you get to the start of the new year. And sometimes decisions are delayed and planning can become reactive rather than proactive. So challenges include closing out your financial year-end, meeting holiday demands, feeling unprepared for the new year. And for many, the start of the new year often feels rushed. So there's pressure to set these massive ambitious goals and to look what we're going to achieve next year. And some people actually, when they're doing it, they massively overemphasize the goals they're going to achieve. And they look and they say to themselves, I can do this, that, or the other. I can do X of my turnover, and I'm going to lose this much weight, and I'm going to be so much on track for everything that happens. And then we tend to get into the second week in January and we're looking at what happens when we fall off the goal-setting wagon and we get back and we just fall into the year as it happens. So what we're trying to do is understand why this happens. And it often happens because the wrapping up of the current year leaves little time to plan for the next year. Market shifts, trends, customers' needs evolve rapidly. Everyone's trying to get stuff done. We're falling behind our preparation to close off our current year. So the lack of intentional planning creates stress and missed opportunities. So without clarity, you're more likely to repeat the same patterns, which can limit growth in all areas of your life. I'm going to repeat that. Without the lack of intentional planning, this creates stress and missed opportunities. So what we're looking at is we're looking at a model for understanding the year-end fog, but purposefully putting some time by at the end of this year and the start of the new year to actually intentionally plan and intentionally set up the year for massive success. So what's the model we're going to be looking at? How do we set ourselves up with a model that's not for failure? How do we set ourselves up for success for the new year? So how do we future-proof? And what we look as a quarterly pivot strategy, right? So we look at the year as 4 years into 1 year. So we're looking at, you can call it the seasonal effect. So we tend to look at Q1, 2, 3, and 4, and we take those 4 quarters and we actually break them down. And we look at each quarter as a potential year in itself. That gives us 4 opportunities for the next 12 months to plan really, really well. And the benefits of this is we're focusing on the flexibility. So we're breaking it into manageable chunks that allows us to adapt to what's going on around us, allows us to adapt to change in markets. It's not too far away that we actually, if we fall off, that we can't restart up again. And it encourages alignment by regularly reviewing the objectives rather than setting annual goals that become irrelevant by the end of January. It promotes strategic experimentation by carving out time to test out new ideas, new products, new services. So it gives you that flexibility within the year to do this. And we're not just talking here about the business goals. We're talking about the three main areas, which are health, wealth, and relationships. And those three areas really need to have a very set and rigid distinction between them so we can actually spend time focusing on them, because they're all areas that combined together will give our life a purpose and a meaning. That's really, really important. So instead of kind of looking at annual rigid goals, we evaluate progress based every 3 months. So quarter 1 could be focusing on health, and it could be focusing on wealth. Quarter 2 then is focusing on relationships, and then in the business side of it, we can break down and have 4 very, very distinct targets, like focusing on customer retention, new products or services, optimizing AI and automation within your business, shifting focus to marketing, looking at how we can help and how we can help working with our customers on a more regular basis, for instance. So this quarterly pivot ensures that we're not locked into a single plan, and it helps us reevaluate, and it helps us progress throughout the year, and it helps us to stay responsive to changes and opportunities. So what we're really looking at is we're looking at renewing, refreshing, and reinventing. They're the 3 big things: renew, refresh, and reinvent. And if I'm looking at this as a metaphor, think of your business as a smartphone. Every so often you need a software update, which refreshes, clears out, what doesn't work, and install new tools for the future. So that renew, refresh, and reinvent is a big focus that we're going to look at. And how do we renew, refresh, and reinvent? So if we're looking at why renewal is a key for 2025, because we often grow stale and our business grows stale relying on the old strategies. And if you've listened to any of my previous podcasts, we talk a lot about AI and automation within our lives and within our business. And so we need to be renewing and seeing how we can refresh everything. Renewing your vision then as a business leader will energize not just your team, but it builds momentum for the year ahead. Reinventing processes helps you stay competitive in a rapidly changing market. And so the renewal part is really, really, it's pivotal in how we looking at facing into 2025. So what are the steps, if we're looking at this renew as a main focus for 2025? We audit what we're doing in all areas of our life, in health, in wealth, and relationships. And that audit can be, we audit our health. Are we as healthy at the end of this year? Are we as fit? Are we ready to be able to take on? Because without health, we've nothing. We've absolutely zero. So we need to audit all areas of our lives. And we talk about health, wealth, and relationships. So we do our own internal audit on those. And we audit our business, and we audit our customers, and we audit all areas of our lives. So in terms of how we can improve, we look at our team, we look at our people, we look at our processes, we look at our product. So we're encouraging this internal innovation, and we're shaking everything up, and we're looking at ideas to reinvent everything. And we talk to our team about how they can help with new ideas, and we encourage our team to actually help us renew everything we're looking at. Encouraging internal innovation, that's a really, really big, should be a really big focus of renew, refresh, and reinvent. And this reinvent doesn't mean, you throw everything out and you just start again anew. It just means we look ahead and we help tweak what we currently have. And that's important. And that's really, really pivotal as well. So what would the actionable steps be for 2025? And how can we actually start these actionable steps? And how can we look at saying, yes, here's Q1, we map out what we're looking at doing. So we set our North Star. So we identify kind of what we would like 2025 to be. And when I'm talking about setting out your North Star, you theme your year. So you put a theme on the year. And if the theme of the year is, reinvent, refresh, and renew, brilliant. That's a fantastic. Or renew, reinvent, and refresh, whichever way you want to look at it. But that theme is a fantastic theme, and it can be put up around your office and your home life. And that's the theme that we're using. And we're going to be talking about that in a lot more detail at the end of this podcast. And we have something that we're going to be offering everybody here. So as we said, set your North Star, set your theme for the year, break the year down into quarters, and create a new year prep checklist. So what do we need to look at in terms of our new year? So what would the checklist look like if we were to have a checklist for the new year? And then we invest in this fresh perspective. So remember that we're going to look at the new year as a massive new opportunity in all areas of our lives. And we're going to break it down into quarterly chunks. So we're building 4 years into 1 year. And on top of that, then we're going to look at renew, refresh, and reinvent. And they're the main things that we're looking at taking out of this particular podcast and build a bit of excitement within the new year. So preparation doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can be small strategic steps taken now that will set you up for success in the new year. So what's the call to action and what's the final thoughts of this podcast? So for me, the final thoughts are this year is coming. We know what's happened. We have a theme now for the new year. And don't wait until the end of January or February to do this. We're going to adopt a quarterly pivot. We're going to look at the 3 main areas of our lives, and we're going to create a plan that helps us not just setting goals for the new year. We're going to set systems for the new year. And that's a main thing we're looking at. It's not about goal setting. This is not a goal setting exercise. So the last thing I want to say before you go, I want to say that, look, we have something a little bit different that we're looking at for 2025. On Thursday, the 9th of January, we're going to be running a webinar. The webinar will take about an hour, and we're going to go through in extreme detail exactly how you set your new year up. There's a wait list attached to this if you're interested in joining the webinar. I would encourage you to please join, because there's a lot of opportunity here to plan the new year in a slightly different way that we can do it, and we can benefit ourselves and everybody around us. There will be a charge for this webinar in the new year, but the charge will be completely up to yourself. And every cent that we raise on this will be given to charity. So it's a way of us all actually starting a new year. We're giving to somebody else and giving to people that are in need at the start of the year. And I like the concept of that. And this was a brilliant idea that came up by Rachel in marketing. So it's a very good initiative. It's created by some of our own team. And it's something that I'm absolutely encouraging. So as a personal favor, I would ask you, please sign up to the wait list. And in this wait list, we're going to be giving out a lot of tips and tools to help you prepare for that webinar on the 9th of January. So at the point of time, you will be prepared yourself and you will have a lot of the work done pre the 9th of January. So thank you so much for listening. We look forward to talking to you on the next webinar. And again, hopefully chat to you on the 9th of January in person. Bye for now.